you keep track of your accolades and things of that nature, and you keep moving forward and forward. And I'm very proud of myself, but like that moment when for you and I and others who are listening who know newsroom culture, for someone to trust your word and your
Mhm.
judgment enough to allow you to not, recommend someone for a job, and in my case, to do it constantly, to do it on a recurring basis sometimes. It's like, wow, what?
The group chat. We all have them. It's 2020. If you don't have a group chat, I don't know what you're doing with your life. My next guest is somebody I met via group chat slightly before the National Association of Black Journalists Convention in 2017. Tramon Lucas at the time was a student at Morgan State University, and before the convention, I created a group chat for all Morgan students to be a part of. And that way, it would allow me to kind of help mentor them and help them be ready for those who had never been to NABJ before. Tramon comes on this week to discuss his career. He is a digital editor at WBAL-TV right here in Baltimore, Maryland. Like myself, he is from Baltimore. So he talks about growing up having WBAL be the family news station and now working there. He also talks about having that responsibility to serve his community from behind the desk. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's my interview with Tramon Lucas. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, I have somebody who came up after I did from the illustrious, the great Morgan State University. But
Let them
I
know.
would be lying to you if I didn't tell you that I actually look up to this person, and not because he's taller than me, but
What?
I actually admire this person, and that is the one, the only Tramon Lucas. Tramon, what's going on, bro?
Hey, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good, man. I definitely appreciate you coming on. Um, it's funny we met via group chat, as always, it seemed like.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember we was getting ready for NABJ 2017 in New Orleans, and
Yes.
as we had the group chat going on, Black journalists everywhere, I said, well, you know what, maybe I should create a Morgan one, and it just felt like everybody just clicked, man, and we go down there. I have to say that I was proud of you, and shout out to all your homies that's on your team. Um,
Yes.
your best friend, your clique. I don't know what your name y'all got going on, but
I,
shout
I'm
out.
not going. I'm not going to give the name out, But
Okay,
yes, there is a name.
but yeah, shout out to y'all because let me ask you this: was this y'all first time going like that deep, or in general?
I think that was our first time going that deep. My good friends, I'll shout them out. Javon Hill, Zayna Armstrong. I believe that the two of them who were a part of that group in 2017, I think their first time was in 2015,
Mhm.
and the rest of us weren't really even involved in the Morgan State chapter of NABJ at that time.
Okay.
Um, so 2017 was definitely our first time going, as you said, that deep, and we were just all squatted up, and that was the year that we actually won student chapter of the year. So yeah, it was definitely like a very fun experience, and Javon and Zayna actually led the charge for us to get motivated and to go down there and to have fun, and that's how we are. So connected to this day.
Man, so let me tell you this. I'm gonna put this out there publicly. One, there's
Uh
a lot of reasons I was proud. One, y'all won
huh.
Student Chapter of the Year.
Yeah.
My first one was 2013 in Orlando,
Mhm.
Florida. We
Mm.
went. It was about 20 of us that all went together, and
Oh.
I can remember sitting in at Magic Kingdom when they had like the opening ceremony, and I
Mhm.
believe they was doing some honoring, like they made like some big point to like honor Jamel Hill and stuff. And
Mhm.
I remember when they had schools, and these may not be the exact schools, but I'm just gonna put the level, quote unquote, because it's about the students all more so than the actual institution a lot of times. But they had
Mhm.
schools like Syracuse, schools like Northwestern, North Carolina
Mhm.
Chapel Hill, and these were the ones that was up in the running for chapter of the year.
Mhm.
And I remember sitting there, I was like, it'd be nice if Morgan could have got get one of those. Now I knew the vision that Dean Dwayne Wickham, shout out to Mr. Wickham. I knew the
Shout out
vision
to
that
him. Mhm.
knew the vision he had. He laid out the blueprint before you guys got there. I didn't know it was going to happen that quick. So
Mm.
when was right there with y'all, and I remember we was all at the welcoming party, and shout out to Vance Brinkley, who was also on
Oh boy.
graduated with me. Well, that's all, bro.
Oh yeah, Vance is. Oh yes, Vance is definitely like a big bro to me. Oh my goodness.
And,
Yeah, everybody's got a Vance story, man. I got a
uh,
I have great Vance stories.
I know, right? So I remember when we was all sitting there, and I was just proud. And I had just got to know you guys. I saw the greatness, but I just got to know you guys, and I was like, wow, they really did it. It is Morgan State University chapter of the year, and to see y'all rolling that deep, and I just thought it was great. And little did I know that it would become such a great, y'all was welcoming me in. Like y'all could have looked at me like an old fart for real, but all
Well,
y'all just
it's listen. First of all, Brian, you gotta give yourself credit. You've actually helped a lot of us. You gave a lot of us great advice, along the way, and you've been a really big motivator. So gotta give yourself credit as well. We didn't look at you like that, but no, you definitely like gave a lot of us good insight, myself included. So thank you.
well, it always helps when you have people that's willing to listen.
Mm.
I love giving advice since I do this podcast is so that people can
Hmm.
hear stories like yours that we get ready to get into, that they can
Cool.
learn. And I always like being able to share the wealth. But to see what you guys did to go out there and win chapter of the year from the National Association of Black Journalists, because it's not just HBCUs, and that's what they would always remind us. You're not just
Mm.
competing against HBCUs, you're competing against everybody. So to see y'all do that was phenomenal. Take me to that moment when y'all found out. How was that?
Well, here's the thing. I have a very funny story about this. So myself, Benjamin McKnight III, Devin Ashby, and I think she was still a student at the time. Desire Love Peace. We were all still like just getting to New Orleans. Terrence Smith, who was our president back then, Zana Armstrong, Javon Hill, and Akira Kyles, they were already there with Professor Jordan. So we were just still getting trying to get from the airport to the hotel because the welcoming ceremony had just started. So they were already there when they won. So we found out while we were on our way there. I mean, and it was great. By the time we got to the hotel, I went upstairs to change, got downstairs. It was like, we just really, I just couldn't believe it. It was like one of those moments where it was like, wow, we beat these other schools, because at first we were so nervous leaving Morgan, I think that week or the week before, but we were like, you know what, we got this. We had like a mobile app. We were like, you know what, they're not gonna say no to this. We got this. We got this. And I must, shout out to Terrence and Zayna. They're my best friends, but also they were just the hardest working president and vice president. And Pia Jordan, as an advisor for MSUABJ for so long before she retired not too long ago. She really, really was the heart of that organization. And, to share that moment with her and to give her that moment, oh my God, that was probably just a great feeling and great moment. That's what it was for me. But I found out on the way there. So I was like, well, damn, I missed all the festivities. But we had a good night after that.
Wow. Yeah, it was amazing, man. And just to see y'all do that. But y'all didn't just sit there, just be like, okay, we done. You saw that what y'all were going to do the next year and, continue as well in the graduation also. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like some people get awards and that's it. So, okay, I'm good. But no, y'all kept working hard. Talk about what your time in Morgan State was like. And because you brought passion to the point that you have an award named after you, but you brought passion to school every day. Now, how did you like stay insane? Because you know how it can be with us when you deal with our people sometimes, and the people that because I've seen you kind of put some people in their place, but how did you
um,
maintain stay level headed?
Honestly, I had those names that I mentioned, and then so many others. A lot of people kept me sane. Like and I'm paraphrasing here, but Michelle Obama always said, like, you can't do college alone, right? You need a community. And honestly, I had a great support system and mentors and friendship, etc. And it was just, it was some of those things that just really kept me going because as you were kind of alluding to, I used to wear so many hats in the School of Global Journalism and Communication at Morgan State. And, I used to put so much pressure on myself, like, okay, I'm doing this for the spokesman, our campus newspaper. I'm doing this for WBAL-TV, our student-run television station. I'm doing this for classes. I'm doing this for other organizations. Slowly becoming a mentor. It was just so much at some point, and trying to work and again get through classes. So it was a lot, but the community was something that helped me just help kept me sane. A great friend of mine who I consider like a brother to me, Malik Obi, always used to tell me like, yo, like he used to come in every day. Like once we got to know each other, he used to like, yo, you can't let everybody stress you out. And it's something that we still do to this day. Where we still do like mental check-ins with each other just to like stay up and see what we're doing, see how we are, because in our community we don't really check on each other anyway. But like I said, community was just the biggest thing that kept me sane. Yeah.
Wow, that's that's the key right there. Checking in with each other.
hmm
When did that start? Did that start like while you was in school or afterwards?
It started like maybe like right before he and I graduated. Like my friend, like my other friends and I, like we still like we check in because we're in a group chat and everything, like but every day it's not like an everyday thing, but it's like a hey, yo, I haven't heard from you in a while. How are you? What's going on? I see you doing this. I see you doing that. What's happening? With my other friends, like I said, because we're in the group chat, we just talk every day. But when you have those real friends that they have your back and they are looking out for your best interests, and that's real, and you can't really find that nowadays. So it started like right before we graduated in 2017, and it's kind of like I said, it's carried on for the last 3 years. And there are times where I'm like, wow, like he, he came through right on time. It's like I really did need to get something off my chest, or I really did, want to see how he's doing, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's awesome, man. I'm glad to see that. Um, because that's the beauty about college. A lot of times you have your friends in high school, and sometimes you may outgrow them, you may not. But a lot of times, with
Mm-hmm.
colleges, you tend to have people of similar interests. Here, you and I, we didn't even wasn't even in school at the same time, but we've been able to build a friendship and a brotherhood just through one social media group chats and similar interests, being in the same field. You know,
True. That's very true. I
and
remember you one time though. I do remember you like one time, like
for
you
real.
think you were in like yeah, you were in Dexter's office, but I think it's like after you graduated, maybe after you came back from
Yeah,
ESPN.
because it was
And
yep,
we
I
were
was trying to get a
talking.
job.
Yep, and we were in there talking like, yo, you Brian, yeah, yeah, and yep, and I do remember you briefly, just like I remember a lot of the like I came in the fall of 12, so like I do remember some of y'all briefly, but as a freshman, I was so scared to go to the third floor. I was like, yo, what is up there?
Oh,
But we were,
man.
but like when you're a freshman, you're still not really acclimated into everything yet. You're just still like, yo, what's going on? Who are these people? But still, I do remember meeting you like before, like just a little bit before social media. But I just knew of you. So, yes, I've heard the great legend of Brian Waters beforehand. You were the first, to go
Oh,
out there and make it big from the new decade, from the 2010s. You know what I'm saying? Brian Waters was out here at ESPN, doing the thing. So,
well,
yeah.
I have to say this. I have to say this. I wouldn't say I was the first, because you still had,
Mm.
yeah. What it was is I was the first under the Wickham regime because when you got there, at
Ah.
the same time he got there. Fall 2012. That was my last year. I always say my last year was his first year. So he came in, honestly, with like a vision, and he was on a fast track to change things. You remember,
I remember
I tell
that.
Kristen West, shout out to her, good coworker of mine.
Hmm.
I Would you remember when there was no First Amendment in the school, when there was no
Woo.
couches downstairs? That wall was plain. So I tell people that, and he's like, "What?" And I said, "Look, I understand there's complaints, but y'all got way more than what we had." And
Yes.
but yeah, I was the first one from his era. Now
Gotcha.
there's and God knows I can't pronounce her last name because I never asked her or her husband, but Alexandria Galipsko, who was at the time was Alexandra Bolin, she graduated in 2011. So she was
Hmm.
at ESPN, and she was kind of who bridged me on board. And there was
Oh,
another
okay.
yeah, Alex was she had graduated, yeah, graduated 2011, and she started working there, I want to say November 2011. And when I got an opportunity, or maybe it's November 2012, but when I had the opportunity, when I had the interview, she was like, "All right, come on, let's go out." Took me out to dinner the night before, gave me the
Hmm.
ropes, told me, let me know, and then said, "Look, if you need anything, then I get the job." And she made sure that the transition was easy. And she said that reason was because she had promised Professor Jordan that
Mm.
she would use her influence to help a fellow Morgan grad. And she'll be on the podcast soon. She was, one of my good friends, was right there when my daughter was born. I think my daughter was only 4 or 5 hours old, and she came to the hospital. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so and then and I can't think of this other lady's name, but she worked on the NBA unit with a few of my friends, and we never met. We did, but we didn't. Like we never, like we may have talked via social media, but I remember everybody would ask me, did I know her? So yeah, there's a plethora of people, and then after me there was Esau Howard, who would later come up, and then we got some more of our people you graduated with up there. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, I didn't realize that you was there in 2012. But yeah, that day when I was in Dexter's office, I came back honestly, and I was trying to, I was coming there to try to find Mr. Wickham. He wasn't around, and I was
Mm.
talking to Dexter and Luther trying to get a job up there, but it just wasn't meant to be. Um, but now after you graduated, man, talk about the award that they named after you.
Um.
I
So
should say in your
that
honor.
award, yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. That award, it's in the MSU spokesman. Shout out to Professor Milton Kent. There used to be so many jokes around SGJC because Professor Kent and I were so close. But so many jokes like, like, yo, that's your dad. I'm like, yeah, yeah, and it's kind of sucked now, even after I graduated. But in any case, shout out to Professor Kent.
Absolutely.
Named the he named an award in my honor. I forgot what it was called before, and that's not to brag. I really did forget what it was called. But I believe it was something about like, like an achieve. It was basically like an achievement award, and he basically said it was December 13th, 2017. I'll never forget it because it was 2 days before I graduated. And he presented me the plaque and everything. He's like, from this day forward, it'll be known as the Tramon Lucas Achievement Award or something to that effect. And honestly, that was probably even to this day like one of the proudest moments. You know, like I don't do things for recognition, and he knows that, and others know that. It's just the way I was raised.
Mhm.
And being raised by a single mother, she just instilled in me like, hey, you just go for what you want. You take opportunity, you see opportunities, you take them. You don't knock anybody out of your way on the way up. You know what I'm saying? You bring people with you. There's so many lessons that she taught me that I kept with me all throughout college, and you know, it was just one of those things that it just really touched me because I was not expecting that. And shout out to the folks and staff at that time as well. They showed me so much love, and I was probably a hard, I don't know if we can cuss him, I was hard ass editor, but
Go ahead,
I
man.
mean that's just I mean,
Be
I mean
raw.
that's just what it was. That's that's just what it was. When I look back on like some of my leadership things, you have reflection, and you're just like, wow, there's so many things I could have done differently. But again, at that point, it was just something I just didn't expect. And like I said, the school at that time, everyone, I just remember those last couple of weeks, everybody just giving me so much love and encouragement. And every time I go back, I was just there today and just visiting and talking to a couple of mentees, and the love is it's always there, and it's always good to have that feeling. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it was just something like an overwhelming feeling for me.
Yeah, shout out to Professor Kent. I used to
Woo! Shout
always
out to him.
I used to always remind him that when I was younger, I used to get in trouble for taking out the
Hmm.
newspaper and reading some of his articles. Him and our good buddy from over at BABJ, David Steele. And so, like, to be able Professor Kent, I never got a chance to take his sports writing class as much as I wanted to. Instead, I
Oh.
took yeah, because there was another professor, Frank Brown, and
Hmm.
Professor Brown was the one teaching the sports writing class and the intro to media editing. So I think that's what it was
Uh
called. It was
huh.
like writing or something.
I
Essentially,
do
to
have
be
a
honest.
funny.
Mhm.
I have a funny story about that sports writing class and
Okay.
Professor Kent. I ain't
Yeah.
gonna make it too long, but it's like he just didn't. He told me to take a sports writing class,
Hmm.
and again because we were so close, it was like, oh, just take it. I was just like, you need an elective, take the class. Me and we can get back into this later down, in our conversation. But like, yo, like me as someone who knew in their heart of hearts, I'm like, I don't want to be a sports reporter. I don't want to be a sports writer. Why do I need to take the sports writing class? I did not take it. When
Oh man.
to this day, when I see sports, when like sports things come up at work, and or I just I'm just looking at it, and I'm just like, or national sports things come up, and I'm like, I have no idea what the hell this is. And outside of football, like if it's not football, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I always tell Professor Ken every time I had those little things, he's like, well, you had an option. You could have took my sports writing class, and I never took the class. So I did have options. I never took the class, and to this day, it still comes back to bite me. It really does.
That's hilarious. But see, I was mad that I couldn't take it because I had already
Mhm.
took Professor Brown's class, and I was like,
Mhm.
man, I because they taught it differently. And even, he was my advisor. That's how we met. And I think I was
Mhm.
like one of his first graduating students. So we was kind of learning together. Um, so man, but yeah, I'm not surprised that he took a liking in somebody like you because you work hard. You ain't have no time for excuses. You wanted to get the job done. And anybody who knows you, they know two things: you love this business and you love Morgan State University.
Okay, love it up and down.
Yeah. But then you went to afterwards. You went to the AP as a
Yes.
general assignment reporter. Talk about your time there, man.
So that was a great internship I had. And they treated you just like a reporter. Like that's just what they called you. Like it was like, yeah, you were an intern, but they treated you like a reporter. It's like you need to come in here every day ready to go. Before that though, it took me like 6 months to get to that because I had applied like the weekend before graduation, and it was one of those things. I met Sonia Ross um, at the time, who was like the editor. She was the she was the editor for the race and ethnicity beat at the time, and she was also in charge of in the DC bureau. She was also one of the ones who were in charge of the internship. And I met
Hmm.
her at a function at Morgan State, and it was one of those things where it was like I was having a bad day. And Brian, you remember me back in like 2017? I still had like my afro. I was having a bad hair day. I was having a bad day with like if there was like an award, an event, and I was moving stuff, and it was a very embarrassing story. Like my pants like split that day, like
Oh
that
man.
night, and I couldn't go home. I couldn't go home and change. I had like this big trench leather coat on, and I kept the coat zipping up all night long. So I was hot. I was annoyed. I was angry. I met her. It was one of those things like, oh, here's my card. You should apply for the internship. I was like, yeah, girl, okay. And it was like that because even though at that point I loved Morgan State and I believed in what we do at our school, in our journalism school, I was like, who am I to apply for this internship? Like, am I really ready for this internship? So I applied for it, never heard back, and I was like, all right, I can move on from this. And I struggled after I graduated to find a job. I eventually found a job, and then I would say I get a call from Sonia in March, a few months later, and she's like, we like the application, just give us, call me back, let's set something up. I called her back. We did an interview. I talked to mentors like Professor Kent, and then talked to another mentor of mine, Edward Robinson at Morgan, and they gave me great advice, gave me great tips, and I did the interview with her and a couple others, and then the next day she called me back and she was like, "You got it." I was like, "Oh my god!" Like just tears of joy that day. Anyway, so to the AP. So it's June from August of 2018 at this point, and I'm like, okay, all right, we at the AP. We in DC. Let's do it. And man, it was easily probably like it's just out of all the internships I've had, whether they were remote or off site, that was my favorite one. Mainly because again, they treated you like a real intern, which means they paid you like like they treated you like a real reporter, so they paid you a reporter salary. And also, you know, it just gave me a sense of what newsroom culture was really going to be like. And that was the biggest lesson. Those were the biggest lessons that I took away. And also, not to be so hard on myself, as I was mentioning earlier when I was in school. It's like you have to understand something. This business, you're going to be learning no matter where you are in your career. You're going to be learning because the business is changing every day. And it was again just a great internship because I learned so much, not just about the business, but about myself and what I could handle and what I needed to do in order to succeed, which was one, truly and fully believing in myself. I am, like others, a harsh critic of myself, and I'm always criticizing myself before others get a chance to. And sometimes when that criticism gets in your head, it's like from your own self again, it's like, wow, like you're creating doubt. It's like, okay, I messed this up the first time. Can I really go out and do this again? Or, I didn't get a quote from this person. Am I really going to be able to go out and do another interview like this? It was just so many different things that in my head that were blocking me. But at the end of the day, Sonia Ross, Jesse Holland, and so many others just, you know, kind of got that out of me. And to this day, I still struggle with it, but it was just a great stepping stone to what came next.
Yeah, I'm sitting there, man, and I get you being in your head, but I'm gonna say, why wouldn't you think that you had enough?
Um, I don't know. I have terrible anxiety, so I just
Okay.
felt like honestly, I just felt like the five. I'm not embarrassed about it. It's like the 5.5 years that it took me to graduate. I was like, am I really ready? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I've done. Everyone around me is like, yo, you've done so much. You do all these great things, but it's like it's really at the end of the day, it's about what you personally believe. You know what I'm saying? It's like I struggle with so much of that, like that doubt and just so much like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I was just really scared of what came next. And I've never been afraid to admit that. When I look back on it now, I'm like, wow, there were so many other things I could have done if I had just not been so afraid to step out there and take that leap of faith. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like I just always played it safe, and I was like, did this really keep me from doing other internships, or maybe applying to the AP a little earlier, or just something like that? I was just always so nervous. You know what I'm saying? Like internships, like the Washington Post, the AP, New York Times. I just did not think I was ready or good enough. I really didn't. And even when I got there, and all the great things they said about me and my recommendations, et cetera, or appraisals, I was like, am I still really doing this? I don't know. It's just, it was just so much.
Yeah. Now what was your highlight there?
At the AP.
Yeah. Like, what would you say was the best thing you've done,
Mm,
or the coolest thing you've done?
man, the funny thing is, it never saw the light of day. My in the DC bureau, they paired us up. I was with a data journalist um by the name of Beatrice, and she was great. God, she can draw and everything. Like, she was just really good. And honestly, her writing skills were, she never really like had like a writing background, but her writing skills were like, damn near better than mine. I was like, well, damn, what am I doing wrong? And honestly, what we did, we worked on this multimedia project about like diversity in the NFL, which sent both of us, excuse me, on a lot of different paths. And the highlight was like, just making a video. We talked about it, and we spent all this time doing research on it, and it just never saw the light of day. But that was my highlight because it just showed me, okay, this is what's going to be expected. These enterprise story ideas that are going to keep you around and that are going to make you a better journalist. Those are the things that stuck out to me. Is like, okay, this is, like I said, this is what I need to do to go forward, and it prepared me for what was next. But that was a big highlight. But also that summer, I got to interview Jesse Jackson,
Mhm.
which was which it was over the phone, but it was still like a little crazy. I was like, I was interviewing Jesse Jackson. I had a lot of highlights actually. I went to the White House for the first time ever in life. Oh my God, I'm losing my train of thought here. But I was in the White House. I was in the press room. Sarah Sanders had just given an update about something. I think the president had was going away at one point, and we were in the back, like, I'm like, wow, this is really happening. April Ryan was there, a Morgan alum, and I was so nervous. I didn't even get a chance to go up and say anything to her. And she looked like she was heated anyway. But I mean, it looked like she had to go do a hit, and I said, all right, I'm gonna leave her alone. But it was one of those things where I was like, wow, this is what it's really about. And then they kind of walked us up like this hallway, and you could kind of see, if you're standing in the hallway at the right time, you can kind of see in the Oval Office, like from where you are in the hallway. And then like Secret Service came out like, yo, you guys can't be in the hallway like this. I'm like, okay. But it was, those were a lot of good highlights this summer.
Yeah, that was amazing, man. I can remember, I would be following you on social media, see what you would post and see what you wouldn't.
Hmm.
But I was definitely proud because I knew it was a big deal, and it just, to me, it felt like it was you, like that's where you belong. You know what I mean? And then you move
Thank you,
on,
man. I appreciate it.
and then you go, you blessed to being from Baltimore. You get to
Woo-hoo.
work at home at WBAL. The
Oh man.
uh, what was that like? And did that like send chills up when you first got an opportunity to work there? Because most of the time, I'm gonna keep it real here.
Hmm.
Most of
Yeah,
the time,
please do.
they tell us go to Fox 45, work
Ugh.
there, and then there's nothing wrong with it. Obviously, shout out to
No,
Stephanie.
no. That.
You-
Oh wait. So you said what? Shout out to WBFF.
no,
Okay.
I said shout out to Stephanie.
Oh yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Shout out to Stephanie. Yes. Yes.
She
Stephanie
got
Douglas. If you're listening, shout out to you, sis. Yes. And Maya Gilmore, Kalia Patterson, Michael Ramos, other Morgan alum who worked there. Dexter Nixon started there actually. Shout out
mhm.
to them. Yes. 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 Yes.
But I'm gonna be real with you, man. When we was in
Hmm.
school, first
Right.
they tried to shove TV 21 down our throats.
Mm.
Did you have to deal with that?
No, I don't. But I know what you're talking about. But no, I didn't have to deal with that. They
Now,
tried to shove.
now you see why
I
I
don't even
appreciate.
remember we had to. Uh
But
huh.
now you see why I appreciate Mr. Wickham, because y'all didn't have to deal with that because everybody was interning at TV 21, and
Mm.
I was asked from what I was told, because I can't say because I wasn't there. But what I was
Hmm.
told was that there were about 20 interns and 4 employees.
Jesus.
And, people intern in and they come back to school and, they would learn. I'm not saying they didn't, but I mean, I don't watch TV 21 to be honest with you. I didn't know about it until because at the time we had direct TV. So,
Mm,
um, but that was like the internship. They say go do that one. And when you try to jump out of the box, they're like, oh no, no. Shout out to Sam Davis, who my mentor for life, who helped me get at the Baltimore Sun. But, you know,
hey,
to see you go right there, right to Channel 11, what was that like, the moment you had that opportunity?
um, I honestly I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't. I started as an assignment editor, part time, matter of fact, at WBAL. I was hired as a part time assignment editor. And if I couldn't give a shout out real quick, a shout out to
Mhm.
Jerome Chester, and Stefan Dingle, in both of them actually, because I remember talking to Stefan Dingle, who was an anchor at Louisville, um, WLKY, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry if I got that mixed up, Stefan. I remember talking to him because I met him in the 2018 uh, student media projects at NABJ. And I remember just talking to him and just letting him like, yeah, I just applied for a job at WBAL. You need Jerome, and Jerome Chester was the director of programming, and he still is at WBAL, and you know, just they were just great monikers for me, for real, honestly. It was definitely like a moment, like you said, I'm from Baltimore. I grew up in Baltimore watching WBAL. Like for my grandparents, for my family, like Channel 11 was the standard. You know what I'm saying? And it felt like I already knew them
Mm.
because like I've been watching y'all report like since I was like 5 years old, not knowing what y'all were talking about. But I've seen you all since I was 5, like for the last 20 years or so. Like I've been watching the station. Um, it was crazy. It was crazy. I always give myself credit. I'm never starstruck by anybody, but I was really just excited to be there. And I remember going there for an interview. I was still an intern at the AP at the time, and matter of fact, after I finished the student project, it was like it was just like this go hard to go home mode that was activated, because I'd spent that whole week just working on stuff on the assignment desk and the student projects, and I was like, all right, well, if I can do it here in a crazy hectic situation here with limited equipment, and you know, even though we're students, they still treated us like we were professionals, and all this stuff is happening. Like, all right, well, why not go somewhere else and do it? Because honestly, I was about to apply for a job at the Baltimore Sun, but in any case, I got called in for an interview. I came up there. They looked over my resume, but also they just, took me around, gave me a tour. I sat with all the managers, and I also made it clear about what I wanted to do next. Like, I knew after the AP, I did not want to be a reporter anymore.
Mhm.
And it was no shade or anything to the AP. It was just like, I was like, well, where else? It was almost like the thing was like, well, what else can I do as a reporter that I couldn't do here as an intern? And they gave me opportunity, et cetera. But it was almost one of those things like, I want to do something different. And Jack Arresto at the AP, who was my broadcast mentor, on the broadcast side of things, he encouraged me to pursue, he and Sonia encouraged me to pursue, different avenues, things that you can't really get rid of, which is like cross format storytelling, aka digital content. So when I went to WBAL, I made it clear to them, like, I do want to venture into digital content at some point. And I met with the digital media manager, Greg Ng at BAL, and we talked about it. And 3 months after while I was on the desk, I applied for a position, uh, a digital editor position, because someone had left, and I applied. And I would say that November, I still had to do a writing test and everything. It wasn't easy, like, you're already here, let's smooth you up. I had to prove I could write and, prove that I just, knew the material. And 3 months into it, 3 or 4 months, I got the job. And I didn't start until January of last year. So, woo, it was, man, it was just a blessing. It really was. It was a blessing. That's all I can say. I went from part time to full time in a few months, dog, and it was God. That's all I can say.
Amen. What was what was your, you know how we use the term in wrestling, your markout moment? So
hmm
what was your markout moment when you got to WBAL? You mentioned being there and essentially meeting, people that you grew up watching. WBAL was the
hmm
channel that your family watched. So
hmm
what was your markout moment?
For me, um, there were a couple, but like, oh man, probably Jane Miller. When I was still on the desk at one point, our lead IT investigator, Jane had called the desk one Sunday while I was working because I worked weekend nights and early morning, a couple like an early morning shift or two. And she called one night, and I always remember in my training they said when Jane calls, you answer. I said okay. Like yes, you answer phones when Jane calls. You need to make sure you answer the phone. And so I answered, and Jane called about something. I don't think it was a shooting, but I think it was about, I forgot, maybe it was like a fire or something. And it's like, oh crap, like Jane's calling, like what am I? Let me get ready. What do I need to do? And when I picked up the phone and talked to her and everything, she's like, hey, it's Jane. I was like, hey Jay. She's like, wait, who's this? I was like, like, oh, it's Trey, from the on the desk. And she's like, okay, hey, did you hear anything about like the boat fire or yada yada yada? I was like, no, because I was pretty good at listening to the scanners at that point. I was like, no, I haven't heard anything about it. Da, da, da. Well, you might want to check on it. I live down here. I see something. Da 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 da. I was like, wow, okay. I said, okay, cool, got you. I don't know. That was for some reason, like, yes, while it's part of my job, and while she's hearing something, it's also part of her job, or just a call in a tip or something. But I don't know. It was like, did Jamie Miller just ask me to look into something for her, or look into something for the station? It was pretty. It was pretty cool. Um, but if I could like say something to them, like or say something to that, the it's a family oriented thing. At least I work nights. And I met some great people there, like Deborah Weiner, Barry Sim, shout out to Vanessa Herrings, my girl, and so many others
That's a
who, exactly. There are so many others who just really just made you feel like they get it. Dr. Tim Tootin, who just feels like an uncle, a grandfather, a father, all in one, man, and just he's great. There are a
I'm,
couple other people
you
that
bring
work
up
there, and yeah,
you bring up Dr. Tim Tootin. I met him at the first
yeah,
NABJ I attended. For me, that
in
was big.
2013.
Yep. Um,
Mm.
I never forget. I walked up to him, I said, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "Tim Tootin, Brian Waters, I'm from Baltimore." Actually, I had on my Maryland tie because I knew it was the first
Mhm.
day. And your first NABJ, you want to stand out and you want to make
Yep.
sure recruiters remember you. So I had on a
Woof.
Maryland flag tie because that way it's an easy selling point. People know where I'm from automatically. Shout out to Route One Apparel.
Mhm.
And so I talked to him and I told him, I said, I'm from Baltimore, I grew up watching you, et cetera, et cetera. And I appreciated it because he was like, oh, yeah, and I said something about my mother. And he said, oh, well, you got a camera? I said, yeah, like I have a phone. He said, let's take a picture. Send this picture to your mom. And I did that. And, so just to get that, even uh, anytime you can meet your local reporters out of town, I encourage anybody who goes to NABJ. If you meet your local reporters, because you're
Yes.
NABJ because you want to be in the business somehow. I've hoped that maybe we can't say about this next generation, but I've hoped that they paid some attention to local news that
Right.
they would indeed know who these people are, these guys and gals. Go up to them and let them know. Tim Tootin, Vic Carter, Kai Jackson, all of them were like very nice
Mm.
to me at different National Association of Black Journalists conventions. So and shout out to Tim Tootin Jr. It was that conference where I met him and built a great relationship. That's like my little brother as well,
Mm.
and he's doing his thing in the Baltimore County scene, not trying to live off his father's name, but making a name for himself in the sports industry. But
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Trey, the name of the show is called Breaking Through the Glass Ceiling.
Mhm.
When did you break through the glass ceiling? I know you knowing you like I do, I know you have big goals and aspirations. You never settle. But there has to be a time where you sat back and said, wow, I'm doing the damn thing. When was that moment?
Probably when I was able to help someone get a job where I work now at BAL. That was actually it, because and it's something that I think you touched on earlier.
First off, that is
Um,
so on brand for you. About helping somebody.
chill, chill. No, I mean, it's like you got to pay it forward. You know what I'm saying? And I don't. Sometimes, like when people ask me things like that, I'm like, or about like success or whatever. I'm like, I don't measure it by like. I mean, yes, but you keep track of your accolades and things of that nature, and you keep moving forward and forward. And I'm very proud of myself. But like that moment when for you and I and others who are listening who know newsroom culture, for someone to trust your word and your judgment enough to allow you to not, recommend someone for a job, and in my case, to do it constantly, to do it on a recurring basis sometimes, it's like, wow, what? Like, am I doing that good here, or does my word mean that much here? To like, where if I like say, I vouch for this person, what? Okay, well this person's in, or we'll bring this person for an interview, we'll talk to this person, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and we'll go from there. Um, that's when I feel like it was like for me, it was like, wow, like I made it. Like I'm in this newsroom. I've only been here for like a year or so, and impact is already being made. Um, that is just just crazy. Along with other things, just like when I'm by myself, or even when I'm there, like I'm a real gatekeeper about what our viewers, etc., are seeing, like that come across their social media feeds, that go across our mobile app, that go across our website, these breaking news stories, etc. That's me. I'm. This is my name. This is what I'm doing, and you know, those are my breaking. That's when I broke through the glass. In my opinion, I feel like I broke through the glass a number of times, but that's how I measure all that.
Now, when you sit back and to be that gatekeeper, what has been like
Mhm.
some of the coolest? No, I better yet. What was the first big story? I guess I don't want to
Mhm.
use the word viral, but what was like the first big story that you worked on? You know that you knew
I
that was
can't even
everybody
remember.
was gonna be talking about.
I can't even remember. Like, and I used to get so nervous about leaving my name on stories, because you do have the
Okay.
option to take your name off of it. And sometimes I still do that. I'll be like, all right, I don't want my name on this, because y'all gonna be after me if y'all don't like it, or whatever, whatever. But man, I can't even remember. I've been on the digital side of BAL for over a year now. 2 years I've been at the station, but a year into digital. So I know there was a big story that came up last year. I just can't remember which one it was, but I know it got like 1,000 or so shares, and I was like, "Yo, what is going on here?" Like, well, like I didn't realize how important shares were to to your brand, or to to whatever that you're doing, until it actually happened. I was like, "Oh man, look at me! Thank God!" Woo, woo. But man, I can't. I'm not gonna lie to you. I can't remember. I can't remember what the first one. I really can't. But I've been a part of a lot of big. I guess would consider bigger stories. But something I'm very proud of and I want to shed light on. I just helped out. Worked on a project with Deborah Weiner, some of our photos, some of a former employees. It was called No Minor Crimes, where you know we just helped keep track. And it wasn't like we were actively going out waiting for this to happen, but we wanted to it's like shed a light on where these kids were in Baltimore under the age of 18 were dying in violent ways, homicides. In 2018 it was a high number, but in 2019 it was a higher number. So Deborah came up with the idea in 2018, and let's keep a track, and let's hopefully we don't get any. And we ended up like 22 last year, and I kind of helped Deborah out like with help keeping track of like what happened to them and helping her track down some friends and family members, and you know finding some social media profiles, wherever the case may have been. And it was honestly, that was a big proud moment right there, because like, oh, like you get to work with Deborah Weiner on this, and if you know Deborah Weiner, she's a light. Um, and it's something I'm very proud of. I really am. I got to do some digital stuff with it. I worked with my manager on something for digital, as a digital piece as well. And this is what I've always wanted to do, something that's community based. Even though yes, it's a very sad and heartbreaking story, it's community based. It was digital. It was had a lot of components to it. That cross format storytelling I was talking about earlier. So, just blessed to have done it.
Now, can you talk about um, sometimes the responsibilities of being the black man in the newsroom, and
Oof.
especially when you are, I mean, you're from here.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure everybody from WBAL is, so a lot of times you may be more familiar or have a better pulse,
Mhm.
especially being younger. So can you talk about
Mhm.
sometimes that how that responsibility can be?
It's hard. And I'm not saying that to say that I don't love where I work. I do. And I'm not saying that to say that, I'd say any newsroom in Baltimore, I feel like every newsroom in Baltimore, talking to my friends who work at other stations, including the ones that I work with at my own station, I feel like, there are challenges. It's hard. Sometimes you feel like you are the voice of the community. And it's not, a matter of fact, not you sometimes, it's all the time. It's like, I want to make sure we put this in the right light. And even to the point where you are writing up, okay, let's say you're writing up, you get something from police and you're writing something up, and someone has a description of a suspect. And the description is black male, black jeans, black beard, black everything basically.
Mhm.
Well, that's you and me right there. You can't, if for people who don't know, like I'm a big dude. I'm 6'4". I'm a big dude. I have a big beard. I could, my size, my height, my size, I could be intimidating to the next person. Um, it's with some of those things that you just like as a black man, as a black, you just want to make sure you are walking the path between, yes, I'm doing my job, I'm reporting the facts, and also you want to make sure that you're still not putting black men, you're not demonizing black men at the same time. This is me personally. For example, I hate squeegee stories. I really do. And what I mean by squeegee stories is, uh, we know in Baltimore there are, quote unquote, according to some folk, there's an epidemic of squeegee kids out on the corners in Baltimore. Um, Basically just squeezing windows, etc., for money. Um, I hate those stories. I really do, in the sense that squeegee kids out here attacking the people and running the people of Baltimore out of town. I think that is ridiculous. And as a black man in the newsroom, I do my best to keep my comments to myself and to stay away from that. But honestly, like I said, it's just so complicated. You see what I'm saying? And I know what some people are going to think listening to this. It shouldn't be complicated. You're a black man. Why should it be complicated? Well, at one point, at the end of the day, you said to do your job. At the same time, it's like I want to present the facts and tell both sides of the story versus someone who you know, just tell one side of it. I don't like one-sided stories. I don't like lopsided stories. They need to be equally balanced. And I'm not saying that we don't do that. We do that, but at the same time, it's a lot for, especially as you said, like a young black man in newsroom nowadays who, all sides of it. It's like, wow, like here I am writing up another story about, you know, a homicide where, it involves a black man or a black woman, or, again, writing up something about a suspect who, well, excuse me, an alleged suspect who the only description is he tall, he black. I'm like, okay, that's me right there. So if I go out on the street, if I write that up, I go out on the street, somebody sees that, that's me. Like I'm tall, I'm black. he did it. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You just have to really ask yourself, and I always talk to my mentor, Professor Ken, about this and others. It's like, am I a black journalist or a journalist who just happens to be black? And, you know, man, like I said, it's not as complicated as I'm making it sound. I'm just trying to make sure I'm not saying something out of order, but the responsibility, it's real, and
Yeah.
that weight on your shoulder, it feels real. It's like, am I really doing enough with this? And I'm not trying to be long-winded. It's just a lot.
This is your story, bro. And I want the people, because the target audience for this are people who literally for the podcast is people trying to be inspired by the everyday people. You got the
Hmm.
podcast with celebrities out there, and people gonna listen to those, but it's like, what about people that I can tweet at and they respond? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So,
Gotcha.
um, what do you do to like decompress? Like, I can imagine working in the news all day. I know, put it
Hmm.
like this: when there was a story, and it didn't have to be necessarily the Aaron Hernandez story, because I was up at ESPN around that time. But if there was something that just like, let's say a player did something crazy and they just kept talking about it. I know me
Hmm.
personally, like if you working, it's a 9 to 5 day, you come home, you just want to get away from sports. What do you do as far as like when the news is that way? Do you go to Starbucks to drink a bunch of coffee? You come home watch a movie? Like, what would be your advice to people who need to decompress from the news, especially if it's a long day of heartbreaking stories?
Man, music is a great tool.
Mhm.
R&B music specifically. I'm a heavy R&B lover, so I just listen to a bunch of music and just clear my head. Just grab my phone, grab my earphones, and I'm just sitting here and I'm like, yo, I just need to not be involved in this for the next 2 hours because I just got in the house. Um, that's something that I do. Talking to my friends, of course. If it's like a seriously heavy story, I'm going to my friends about it. I'm like, I just need to talk this out, or I'm just going to talk about something else and move on. And it almost goes back to that thing about, like, checking in with, your community, because it's like there are a lot of stories that have happened in the last 2 years that have been very heavy, I
Mhm.
would say. Not have taken a serious toll on me, but there's some stories I'm just like, yo, I just can't believe this is happening. Um, I just can't believe that we've allowed, not we as journalists, but like we as a people allowed this to happen. All the other stuff, like, I'll just throw on some Donny Hathaway real quick, or if I'm feeling it, I'll throw in some Beyonce, or if I'm feeling it, I'll throw in some Luther Vandross, one of my favorite singers, the best thing ever, hands down. You know, I, and when people listen to this, please don't debate with me. Go debate with your mom. I don't feel like dealing with it today. Whenever you hear it, but no, but man, and first of all, me, I love to laugh and have a good time. I love laughing. I really do. I'll
Mhm.
try to make people laugh, or I'll try to go make myself laugh. I am not one of those people who are afraid to admit. I talk to myself. I'm like, yo, today was wild. And it's just things like that. I should start reading again because I have a lot of books here in my apartment. I'm just like, I need to start reading these books again. But I was just like catch up on my TV shows that I missed because I work nights, so I missed like The Flash and Black Lightning and all that. So it's a number of things that I do. I never involve my family in it though, because one, it's my job. But also, I just don't go to my family about everything because I don't, want them to worry, and I don't want them, I don't want that to be put on them. You see what I'm saying? I just want to
Mhm.
be put on something like temporarily, and I can just move on from it. But some days, I'm not gonna lie, you got to take mental health days. Sick days are nothing about, I have a itchy, scratchy, wakey fever. Like, no, like I don't feel good. I'm sick because my head is killing me from dealing with so much of this. And it can be a story, it can just be an incident in the newsroom, it could be anything. I'll just be like, yo, I just can't do this today. My body is tired. I'm exhausted. Mental health days are important. They are just as important as sick days. They are sick days. They are important. Like where you just disconnect. And that's my biggest problem. I can't disconnect from my phone or as far as like social media. Like when I'm on vacation or staycation, I can't disconnect. I need to go somewhere this year where there's no Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I'm the same way, bro. So I get it. Trust me. Now, have you had to, being that you're from Baltimore and you work at a
Yeah.
Baltimore station, have
Yes.
you had to like, I guess, write up with somebody that you know or went to school with?
Woo. Yes. That is. Yes, I have. I think maybe like. Oh man, I ain't gonna say his name, but I went to high school with this guy, and
Hmm.
he was involved in like some hit and run incident, and I think he ended up killing the guy or injuring the guy. I don't remember, but I remember it happened like last year around this time, and I was like, oh, I know him, like little dude from oh whoa, we went to Woodlawn. Oh wow. I was like, yo, this is wild. Man, like I think that was I had my name on it still. I was
I
like,
was
oh
about to
man, I
ask,
hope
is that one
nobody.
of those moments you don't put your
I
name
I I sure did keep my name on it. I mean, now ask me would I do that now, but I
in?
I did have my name on it. Honestly, man, there's been a couple of times where, excuse me, like yeah, like a couple of times where I've had to write up something and it involves someone I knew, and sometimes it is a little like wow, like you know, damn, we were just in school kicking it. We were just joking about something, talking about something. I'm just like, years later, anything can happen. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I do remember. I don't remember writing. I don't think I wrote this one case up, but I do remember someone dying that I knew, and I remember seeing it in the email when it came through that night. But I don't think I had to write it up, and I found out a couple of days later it was someone that I knew who was fatally shot in Baltimore. And I was like, wow, someone I was like, used to really laugh with and joke with in high school. And then just to find out that, at that time, 7 years after you graduated, and, so much can happen, so much can change. And then boom, they're essentially, to some folks, a number in that whole 348 people who died last year. Um, It's wild, man. It really is. It's a wild thing. Every time I see stuff like that, I'm like, oh God, I hope it's not somebody I know. Same thing for Morgan State. As I love
Hmm.
our university, but we always get caught up in this whole thing about yeah, Morgan State. Morgan State. It's always got something going on. Morgan State is not a good school, and that couldn't be. That's just any further from the truth. Morgan State is a damn good school. It's an open campus and things happen. And I just, when I do hear things about, Morgan State students being robbed or, unfortunately, dying, I feel that sympathy. I was on campus in 2016 where it just felt like every day a student or like every other month a student was shot, killed, or something like that. And it was just like, yo, what's happening? You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I've been in those situations on the school side of it. I've been in situations on the professional side, and they all just suck. They really do.
Yeah. Man, well, I definitely have to say, man, you're doing a great job. You're doing a great, um, you're doing our community very well. You fair, and I always appreciate, especially getting to read your work. So I've told you this at
Thank
the
you.
beginning. I'm proud of you. Um, Anything you want to leave the people before we get out of here?
Um, yeah. A couple things, man. First, you just gotta really believe in yourself. Like you heard me throughout this talking about how I doubted myself, and I let fear keep me from doing a lot of things. And honestly, I love my time at Morgan, but I had so many regrets. So for those of you who are in school, especially for those of you who go to HBCUs, the whole HBC is very dear and near. Um, go for it. Your education, everything that you've done up until this point, it matters. You need to go for every single opportunity that you can, and you're not going to know unless you try. You got to go for it. You really, really, really do. You got to apply yourself. You really have to. For the young journalists who are listening, or young and up and coming who are listening, and Brian, you kind of alluded to this earlier. Please stay up to date with what's going on where you are. Like, even if you are in school for just 10 or 15 weeks, stay up to date with what's going on. Know what you're talking about before you go out here. And what I mean by that is you have to stay up on current events. You have no idea um, how many mentees or how many just people in general that I know that just don't know what's going on. And I'm not talking about in the election. I'm not just talking about in the White House. I'm talking about just period. Like, have no idea about what's going on. It's like you can't be somewhere, again, for 10 or 15 weeks, like I say, if you're in school, and you don't know what's going on. And then you can't go out here into a professional setting and talk about, I want to be at CNN. I want to be at NBC. I want to be at ABC. I want to be here. I want to be there. Even if, you want to go into entertainment, into sports, you have to know what's going on because eventually all these things intersect. As we see now, there's more politics in sports than probably has ever been, or a resurgence of it. Entertainment, everything, every single thing is coming up into entertainment now. And then there's a responsible way to do entertainment news as well, but that's a different conversation for a different time. You just have to seriously know what's going on. Please, I urge you all to stay up to date with current events. You've got to know what's going on out here. It will hinder you if you don't know, and it will show up in your work. It will show up in anything that you do because you just don't know. You always on your phone. Get the mobile apps, download the apps, stay up to date with the news. If you don't feel like, quote unquote, watching the news, then you need to stay up to date with what's going on. Use the tool that you have in your left or right hand right now, which is your phone, your iPad, your MacBook, whatever. Stay up to date with what is going on. As we as young people, we really need to know how all of this affects our future and also how it affects the future of the business that we're about to go into. So, be kind to one another.
Yeah, well, one of the things is but like you said, you brought up apps. All you gotta do is turn the alerts on. So even if you don't,
you know what I'm saying, turn everything on and just see what's going on. Like, just
yeah,
see what's going on. Especially if you're in Baltimore, download the WBAL mobile app. We can help you stay up to date. Had to plug it. Had to plug it, or follow us on Twitter, or follow me on Twitter. All that good stuff,
But let them know where they can follow you.
I'm better at Twitter than anything else. So it's at my name, Tramon, Tramon, 1_ WBAL. And yeah, I do follow back. Don't let any of that fool you. And I'm always willing to give advice, and yeah, so it's nothing for real. It really isn't.
Well, Tramon, I appreciate you coming on board. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you follow and listen to Tramon Lucas. Trust me, it will be of your great benefit. This guy has shared his story, and that's the reason why I had to have him on here, because I know he was going to keep it real. So, Tramon, I appreciate you, man.
I thank you so much for having me, and just, Brian, please continue to use this platform to inspire others and to help others, because nobody else has really done this that I've seen, at least, especially for our young journalists. And I really just appreciate you, man. I really, really do. Thank you.
All right, bro. Appreciate you. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that was my interview with Tramon Lucas. Make sure you follow him at Tramon_WBAL. Next week, I have my good friend David Shealy from WBIR out of Knoxville, Tennessee. He comes on to discuss his career, which included him getting a jump start by going viral on Twitter when he posted his reel. So we get into that and so much more. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining this episode of Breaking Through the Glass Ceilings with Brian H. Remember, don't let nobody put up a ceiling that you can't break through. Forever 824. This podcast is brought to you by B. Waters Productions. It is produced and edited by myself, Brian H. Waters, with the music brought to you by Hypnosis. You can find Hypnosis on Instagram at hypno_beats.